What if Deku was Robin? That is the story that we are covering today. We're going to be doing something a bit different this time. Instead of bringing Batman into My Hero Academia's universe, we are bringing Izuku Midoriya into DC's realm. One more change we'll be making is that Batman has never had a Robin in this universe. Before we get started, like this video, smash that subscribe button, and ring the notification bell so you never miss a video. Alright, with that being said, let's do this. Much of Deku's early life is the same. He lives with his mother and has never really met his father. The boy spends a lot of time with a gifted but angry child named Katsuki Bakugo. Excelling in everything he does, Bakugo likes to mock Midoriya for being clumsy and spaced out. Despite this, Izuku enjoys his time with his best friend Kachan and looks up to him. Both children admire the symbol of hope, Superman. As many young kids do, they dream of becoming a superhero just like him, though both of them are powerless. The lack of powers does little to curb Katsuki's sense of superiority. His inherent confidence and tenacity paired with his keen intellect makes him take a spotlight with ease. Izuku lags behind. While not any less intelligent, he always tries to be more prepared to have a plan. It tends to make him overanalyze things. Though he is still quieter than his friend, his dream seems closer than it does in My Hero. There may be superpowers in this world, but they are not as prevalent here. It causes him to be on more of an equal ground with Bakugo. The gap between them doesn't feel as vast for either child. They spend their days in school, their afternoons hanging out, and their evenings at their homes. One such evening, the two are headed home after a fun day, warm with a pleasant breeze. The day seems as peaceful as any other. As they round the corner, Izuku can see a crowd gathering outside of his home. He feels a burning sensation in his throat as he's overcome with fear. His legs start moving on their own accord, dragging him forward step by step. Izuku doesn't notice the ambulance until he gets closer. The vehicle appears in his vision and steals his attention. Two men finish draping a sheet over a body. He only caught a glimpse, but it was enough. Midoriya charges forward, calling for his mother. A police officer catches him and tries to calm him down. By the time the boy is able to slow his breathing, the truth has begun to sink in. He never hears what the officer says, his eyes only looking to his house. Through the open door, he sees a large blood splatter. On the floor, the walls, even the ceiling, blood everywhere. His mother's blood. A hand squeezes his shoulder. Bakugo pulls him out of his thoughts. He says something about the officer calling Bakugo's mother to come get the two of them. Cameras find them and begin to flash, sealing their expressions for all eternity. The officer returns and takes them to his car. He tries to keep them away from the prying eyes and onlookers of the media. Midoriya spends the following night in the home of his friend. Though he sits at the dinner table with them, he spends the time moving his food around instead of eating it. When he notices the glances from the others, he takes a few bites for their sake. He then gets up and thanks them for the meal. Heading into their living room, he turns on the television. Pixels light up and he finds himself staring at his own face, or a blank and numb version of it. On screen is the picture that others took earlier. It changes to that open door of the blood splatter. That door. His door. The door of his house. The blood. His mother's blood. A sob chokes its way up the boy's throat. Tears pool and fall from the corners of his eyes. He wipes his nose. His knees give out and he gives into the grief. The Bakugo family does what they can to ease Izuku's pain. Katsuki tries to cheer his friend up in his own way, but nothing works. A few days pass. Midoriya spends them alternating between bouts of tears, rage, and apathy. This emotional torrent is interrupted by a knock. Mitsuki Bakugo answers the door with Katsuki standing beside her. Izuku hides somewhere behind them. On the other side of the door stands a sharp-looking man with a great smile. His clothes are nice, but not too expensive. The man definitely has a foreign air around him. The woman addresses him in broken English that she barely remembers from her school days. She is surprised when he responds fluently in Japanese. He introduces himself as Bruce Wayne and asks if he may come inside. As the three move out of the way for the man, Izuku notices a taxi sitting at the curb with its engine off. He locks with the new guest and states, "You're here to take me away." Stepping inside, Bruce's smile falters a little and he pauses before replying, "Only if you want to come with me. I know all of this must be hard for you." Mizuki interrupts the man and mentions that he must be Midoriya's father. Her eyes burn holes into the man as she sizes him up. She looks at the cab before shutting the door and continuing. The woman states that when she asked Inko once about him, that she never got a name. The only thing Inko would tell her was that he was a rich playboy. That he probably had no idea that he even had a kid. Seems like he arrived a little too quickly. "What's a playboy?" asked Midoriya. "Women like me." Bruce chuckles a little. She was right. I didn't know. But I happened to already be in Japan when I found out today. I contacted you immediately. I lost my parents when I was his age. It breaks my heart to know that I have a son going through the same. I wanted to be here for him. I know what he's going through. Midoriya glares at this man, claiming to not only be his father, but to understand his situation. "I don't think I want you here. I'm not going anywhere." Katsuki glances between Izuku and his father. His young mind reels. He lost his parents too. Deku is rich now. Is he leaving forever? If he's rich, then he can come visit whenever he wants. He doesn't want to go? This is everything he needs right now. The young Bakugo finally speaks. "Too bad, Deku. I'm getting tired of sharing my room with you. You're always knocking things over. Every time I talk to you, you do is mutter to yourself. Get out of my house!" The other three are all stunned for a moment by Katsuki's outburst, enough that no one follows him to his room, until they hear a bunch of noises. They come up to find the boy dragging around a large bag out of his room. He points at it and yells, "There's all your stupid stuff. Take it with you. You're lucky someone as great as me was ever your friend. Call me if you ever stop crying." Izuku holds back his tears as he watches the door to his best friend's room slam in his face. He turns and runs down the stairs, out the door. Izuku begins to rage at Katsuki. Bruce picks up the bag and carries it outside. He looks at his son and he leans against the car. The boy is miserable. The man puts the bag in the trunk. Stepping up onto the sidewalk, he asks, "Are you sure this is what you want?" "I don't seem to have much of a choice." Nodding, they wait a moment. Mizuku appears in the doorway. She hugs Midoriya and tells him everything will be okay. She says that Katsuki just wants what is best for him. Izuku does not say much, but he returns the hug. Then father and son enter the taxi. They take a long drive to the airport, mostly in silence. Both of them are lost to their own thoughts. The rest of the journey to America is more of the same. Upon arrival, Izuku is given documentation of natural citizenship. It is an expedited process due to his father's social status, something that he becomes more aware of once they try to leave the airport. Outside is a crowd of photographers and reporters. Standing in front of the sliding doors is an older gentleman. Dressed in a butler uniform, the man introduces himself as Alfred Pennyworth. When he realizes the boy seems to be having trouble understanding him, he switches to Japanese. Flashes of light explode around them and a crowd surges over them. Pennyworth leads him to a vehicle and helps him get in. Minutes later, they're all able to breathe a little easier. The crowd left calling out questions behind them. Izuku wonders what makes them act like that. Alfred's voice catches his attention as the butler explains his role in their life. Midoriya nods that he understands and then asks a question. "I'm gonna have to practice my English a lot more, aren't I?" No one answers the child as they know that he wasn't looking for one. Silence fills the car until they approach the gateway of Wayne Manor. The boy looks out the window to catch a peek of his new home. It looms large above on a hill. Alfred presses a button and a gate opens. The car rolls through, leaving the gates to close behind them. They stop in front of the mansion and Izuku gets out. He stares up at it, overwhelmed by the sudden realization of just how different his new life will be. He lets the emotion out, crying as he stares at the colossal building. He balls up his fist as anger wells up. Unable to process it all, he raises his fist and prepares to change the structure. Before he can launch his fruitless attack, Izuku feels a hand on his shoulder. He looks up, expecting his father. Alfred meets his eyes with a gaze filled with compassion for the boy. Against such genuine concern and care, Izuku is defeated. He turns around and hugs the man, sobbing. Pennyworth comforts him and offers to get him some hot cocoa. On the other side of the car, Bruce Wayne stands there watching it all transpire. He makes no move to comfort the boy himself. Midori agrees to the hot chocolate, glancing back to see his father moving for the trunk to get the bags. Time passes. The sounds of something splintering into hundreds of shards and sliding across the floor pulls Alfred Pennyworth away from what he was doing. Putting down a feather duster, the butler steps in the next room. The first thing his eyes notice is the broken vase lying in pieces on the floor. Teardrops land on the broken pottery, and the man takes stock of a sobbing Izuku. He moves closer and places a hand on the boy's shoulder. His voice is soft when he speaks. A broken vase is nothing to cry over, Master Izuku. Shaking his head, Midoriya pulls away and turns to face the man, the tears still streaming down his face. The boy mutters, "It's not about that. It's everything." Nodding in understanding, Pennyworth gives the boy a hug and whispers the 4 words the boy has heard so many times in the last few months. "It'll be okay." This time, those words have no calming effect on the child. His muscles tense and he grits his teeth, holding back a wave of anger. As the body shakes in his arms, Alfred realizes that this phrase is failing him. He tries to offer comfort in the form of food, but the only response is silence. For several seconds, it hangs in the air around them until a beeping sound interrupts it, recognizing the sound of the intercom for the front gate. The butler apologizes and leaves the kid behind. Minutes later, the man returned with a large box in hand. Izuku is no longer there. It takes him a few moments to reach Midoriya's bedroom. Before he even knocks, he can hear the boy still bawling on the other side. It takes 3 raps of his knuckles on the door to get access to the interior. The red-eyed, puffy face of the child stares at him as he enters, explaining that while he has not opened it, he believes it be the last thing from Izuku's old home. Pennyworth asks what should be done with it. "I don't care. I don't want it." The kid whines, still staring at the butler. A growl edges into his voice as he continues, "From a life that doesn't exist anymore." Walking to the closet, the steward opens it and sets the box on the floor. Closing one door, he heads for the other. The man steps in front of it and speaks. "That might be the case, young master, but in the future, you may want these items. I'll just leave the box in there for the time being. If you need anything, Master Izuku, just call for me." Alfred leaves the room and returns to his duties. He continues dusting, though he cannot help but to think about the child. His mind wanders as his hands deftly sweep up the dust from the many things in Wayne Manor. Memories of the past few months rise to the surface. Times of tutoring the boy, cooking for him, holding him while he grieves, and tucking him in at night overwhelm him for a moment. His hands never stop moving, his body a finely honed tool to complete his numerous tasks. Despite his excellent capabilities as a butler, it takes him some time to finish dusting, a task that he had planned to follow with more chores. Instead, he heads for the kitchen and grabs 2 bowls. Reaching into the freezer, he pulls out a pint of ice cream. He grabs a scooper and adds a couple perfectly sized scoops to the dishes. Then he returns the small tub of dessert to the frosty appliance. Snagging some spoons, he picks up the vessels of the impending sugar rush and places them onto a tray. Covering the tray, he carries it back to Midoriya's room. It only takes one knock for him to receive an answer from the other side of the door. Pennyworth announces that he has brought the young master something that might soothe him a little. A moment later, he looks down at 2 little green eyes filled with curiosity. They are red and puffy, but the tears are dry. The mouth below them moves to ask Alfred what he brought. Smiling, The butler replies with a request to enter the child's room. Nodding in excitement, the boy steps back and lets the man inside. The steward proceeds in and over to a table with 2 chairs in the corner. He sets the tray on the table. Izuku closes the door and runs up beside him. The kid begs to know what is beneath the shiny metal barrier. With a flourish, the butler lifts the cover and reveals the treat that it had hid. Midoriya lights up and lets out a happy little shout. Snatching up a bowl, the child sits down and begins gobbling it up. Alfred takes the other bowl and a seat. He looks at the boy and tries to warn him. It's too late. I got a brain freeze, yells Izuku as he sets the bowl down and places hands on the side of his head. The man suggests that he places his tongue on the roof of his mouth. Following that advice, the child's headache subsides. He cracks a smile and thanks the butler. After taking another bite, he puts the spoon down and notes that Alfred seems to know a lot, humbly accepting both the gratitude and the praise with a simple thank you. Pennyworth notices the boy's brow furrowing. He asks about it. With a sigh, the kid says, I bet my father knows a lot too. I'll never know though, because he wants nothing to do with me. The man mimics the other's movements and places the spoon in the bowl. That's not true. Your father cares about you. Looking at his dish, his eyes wetting, Izuku just mumbles, he didn't even come home for dinner, let alone my birthday. Holding back a cringe from the pain in the child's voice, Alfred says, your father is just a very busy man. He has a company to run, charities to support, and stopping himself before he can say more, the butler dodges the boy's obvious inquiry with a vague answer and picks up his spoon. He returns to eating his ice cream and encourages Izuku to do the same, especially before it melts. The statement reminds Midoriya of the fragility of the sweet frozen cream in front of him. He nods and rejoins the butler in enjoying the treat. They finish the rest without any more words passing between them. A ringing from Pennyworth's pocket breaks the silence as Izuku takes his last bite. Pulling out a phone, the butler answers it. The conversation is short, but the child can tell who is on the other end. His father. He can also tell that the man is not coming home soon. After hanging up and placing the device back inside the jacket, Alfred apologizes for having to leave. Standing, he instructs the boy to get ready for bed and tells him that he will come back to tuck him in. Midoriya mutters something about not needing it and heads for the bathroom. Pennyworth reassembles the tray and takes it with him. He goes back to the kitchen, sets it down on the island before leaving that room as well. The man makes his way to the main study of Wayne Manor. Once inside, he moves to the old grandfather clock. He spins the hands until they point 10:40. With a grinding sound, a secret passageway is revealed. A series of small, low-level lights turn on and guide him down a set of stairs. Upon reaching the bottom step, the darkness gives way as lights turn on throughout a large cave. Alfred takes a single instant to take in all the things collected there. Though he does not exactly approve of Bruce Wayne's endless quest, the sheer scale of adventure, the man has always amazed the butler. He shakes his head and steps through the cave to the Batcomputer. It fires up in just over a second, and the man sits down to type at it. Seconds later, he has established a connection with the master. A picture of Mr. Wayne in a bat costume appears and a voice accompanies it. The voice tells him that the billionaire is in a warehouse, trapped inside a room that is filling with toxic gas. His bat breather has about 3 minutes left, after which he will be affected by the gas. Pennyworth informs him that he has gained access to the building and is pulling up the security footage feeds. The picture of Batman shrinks and shifts to make room for 10 images from the different cameras. I've located you, Master Bruce. I'm now opening the doors and venting the gas. Motion on one of the feeds catches Alfred's eye. He watches as several thugs make their way to the vigilante's location. He passes the information on and looks at the others. He takes notice of a smiling face on the side of a truck. You have 6 undesirables en route to you. I thought you put the Joker in Arkham after the incident. I did. He must have escaped. replies Batman as he dances into action on one of the cameras. Fists fly and thugs fall. Some of the others are backed up. Two even turn to run. None of it helps. They have already gotten too close. With a flick of his wrist, batarangs soar from his fingers and hit those running, dropping them both. It distracts the other three. Two punches, an elbow, and a kick brings them down. He begins to tie them up. Alfred commends his master on the fight. Before he can say more, he is pulled away from the computer by the sounds of something clattering to the floor. He mumbles the words, "Oh no," just enough to get Batman's attention. "What is it, Alfred?" At first, he does not answer, uncertain of what his gut tells him. The butler stands and turns around. He sees one of the many trophies on the floor. He moves towards it and grabs it, placing it where it belongs. The man's eyes scan for who may have knocked it over. The rustling of clothing gives away the intruder's location. 4 steps and Alfred Pennyworth stands over Izuku Midoriya. "My dad is Batman? He's really Batman? I am the son of Batman?" The boy mutters to himself wildly as he makes a writing motion with his hands. There is no notebook, no pen, neither a pencil, but he scribbles away in complete shock of the truth. The man reaches down and places a hand on the child's shoulder while speaking to the master. "We have a problem, Master Bruce. Your son has found the truth. I believe it is impertinent that you return home." "I'm on my way." Hey guys, thanks again for watching. That's all we got for today. I apologize for that pretty awful British accent. I'm definitely no voice actor. I'm just a guy like you who likes YouTube videos, and I decided to make some of my own. With that being said, guys, make sure that you subscribe, hit that notification bell so you never miss a video. We'll see you guys next time.